Yep.
Thank you. The answer's got the difference. Having a good look through it. Thank you. Just to continue, Jane Rooney from Francis Ave. Welcome, Jane.
Hi, thank you.
You've got the sense of how this works, and
Yeah. I'll just have to work out how this works. First, I'd just like to thank the council for having this opportunity and for all the work that the staff have been doing. Which was your one? Excuse me, can I still get the comments but see the... Oh, I'll just later.
Yes, I can't change anything now.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry. So I live with my family at 16 Francis Ave. According to the LEADAR data, the low point of our street is at 14, next door, where the Flopton drain passes underneath the road. The ground level rises quickly to the north, south and west, and the number of properties badly affected by flooding in our area is reasonably small, maybe about 7 or 8. Outside our house is a manhole cover for what I presume is the sewer and the stormwater drains for the whole street. We bought our house at the beginning of 2004. Our next door neighbours have been there since 1994. Neither of us had any risk of flooding noted on our limbs when we purchased, and we've had no flooding prior to the earthquakes. This is our house on the 22nd of February. This is our house in June 2013, and this was this year on the 5th of March. The Dudley Flood Remediation Report notes that the proposed flood mitigation options will give no marked improvement. But we and our immediate neighbours won't feature in the council report figures for at-risk floor levels because we don't have flood water through our house. It just goes underneath. However, during these rain events, our garages and sheds flood, our cars are at risk and need to be moved to higher ground. We're effectively trapped in our homes. The novelty of this sort of thing is worn off. Do we need waders to get our kids home from school? Contaminated water goes under our houses and it stays there for quite a while. We spend a lot of money on heat pumps and dehumidifiers. We've had our sewer replaced, but when it rains heavily, our toilets fill up. When it floods, sewage from the rest of the street rises up through our gully trap and mixes with flood water on our section. This is the neighbourhood's toilet paper on my back path that I couldn't clean off. It's not my toilet paper. No reported remediation option is going to help us. Are we expected to continue living like this? We've got no confidence that a significant rain event isn't going to impact on our lives on an annual basis, given it already has for the last 4 years. And this doesn't take into account climate change. Where does this leave us? We know the flooding is caused by the earthquakes. We've had survey levels which show between 2005 and 2013 our land has dropped 550 millimetres. I've given the council and EQC this information because we also know this isn't a problem that the council in isolation should be left to address. But EQC don't want to fix our foundations adequately or raise our house, and they appear to have no interest in fixing our land. They propose to replace 25 of our piles, presumably without a building consent. Why can the EQC send me this letter? Why can EQC go ahead and repair my house foundations now if I'm naive or worn down enough to accept it? The council's own forms say that an application for exemption to building consent for repair or replacement of a damaged foundation is to be supported by A, confirmation that the site is not in a flood management or flood awareness area. Shouldn't there be a hold on repair work in our area? Shouldn't the council just put its foot down about exemptions in this area? The flood mitigation work will not improve our risk of flooding. We don't know if we're going to be further penalised by having hazard notice on our titles in the future. What about our limbs? Are we going to be able to afford to insure our house in the future? How on earth are we going to sell our house? The report says properties on Francis Ave are more difficult to protect. If the costs are prohibitive to extend the protection, what about other options? There are only a few of us really badly affected, and several are rebuilds. At least one is cash settled, as far as I know. We are the only undercat repair on our side of the road. So please don't forget about us. We've spent 4 years being in the too hard basket, but we've paid our rates and insurance premiums and are in this situation through no fault of our own. We want to be able to make decisions and move on with our lives. We don't want to be financially crippled and constantly stressed. We just want to know what is going to happen to the people who are not benefited by any of these options, who are not covered by any at-risk floor group that might be contacted separately for the council. I mean, what's going to happen to us? Thank you.
Late arriving, and obviously, you know, you've been through, sort of hell and back, and it's an incredibly difficult situation for you. I don't know whether you want to respond to any questions. Can you go back to the second to last slide? Because I think,
Sure.
Is it the second to last or the third to last? Number 13.
The form.
It's the form for the building thing, because I think contained within it is the problem.
Next one.
It's that one, yeah. So you only get to the supporting an application when an application is made, and an application is only made when you're repairing or replacing all or a substantial part. And the key words for you are a substantial part. You know, and you know, if you were, I don't know what the line is, so that's what you've raised today. I certainly want to now understand what is meant by a substantial part, because I don't know how many piles your house has and what 25 represents, and sounds substantial to me, but I'm not an expert. And so the question is are you able to continue with that repair work without a building consent? And that's the question that we need to ask, because we can't require people to apply for a building consent when we don't have the legal basis to do so.
I understand that, but as the homeowner, it's our responsibility under the Building Act to make sure any work on our house complies with the Building Act.
Yeah.
That's the homeowner's responsibility. And I'm informed enough as a registered architect to know, and there's no way my house is going to be repaired the way EQC expect to, but there's a lot of other people out there who don't have the knowledge or the skills, and nobody is protecting them.
Yeah, and this is the issue. I mean, like part of my reason for the delay is the EQC declaratory judgment's just been released. So we've been reading that and getting to understand it. But it does look as if they will be compensating people for the increased flood vulnerability. So you'll be having another conversation with EQC, obviously, as part of this whole process. And as you say, we are part of the solution, but not all of the solution. And I think EQC have really got to be included in this picture as well. So I don't know whether anyone has any particular questions that they want to. I just don't. I'm very mindful of the fact that this is an emotional occasion for you. So would you like to leave it there, or would
No,
you like...
I'm just because I cried doesn't mean
Okay, no,
I'm not
that's all right.
capable
I'm just yeah.
of answering a question.
Okay, Yanni.
Well, I just want to thank you for making your submission, and I share the concerns that you have raised and many other communities around the city as well. There are other places in the city that are in a similar predicament, and I do think it's important we have an answer. It's really a question for staff, just the issue around consenting, which is one that I raised with what we know in Wolfston, where places were getting lowered, so not even raised, but actually lowered. Surely we've got some answer to what we can do urgently, given what we're hearing again today. There must be things we can do.
Yanni, I think that it's a little unfair, because it's what I've just said. It depends on whether there is a legal basis for requiring a consent to be issued. We can't require people to issue consents when it's not legally required.
But surely we can talk to government about what changes.
Yeah, but let us... Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Vicky.
The next person.
You mentioned a number of houses that were in a similar situation.
Yeah.
Do you actually have a number on that, Kim?
It depends what you consider as badly affected, but I'd say there's four houses like ours that are old timber on piles. There's three, a house on a rear section and two flats that are lower to the ground and have had water through them. So from my perspective, we are the worst affected people in our area, and across the road, one or two houses is not good, but they still don't have the risk of their car being damaged when in a 1 in 10 event, say.
Okay. Right. Well, look, we're going to have to move on, because we've got a number of deputations to get through. We're reviewing this whole deputation process. It's difficult, because some people are seeing it as part of the submissions process, which of course was what we've got our report on, is the submissions process that was finished. We are very aware that there are houses that are being required to be repaired and areas that are now exposed to vulnerability that they didn't have before, and it's because we can't require them to apply for consents. So that's the rock and the hard place position, and we thought that we might be able to address that through the declaratory judgment, which we in the end we didn't pursue the claim because EQC changed its policy, but the court ruled that increased vulnerability to flooding is with respect to the damage it does to buildings is not in itself earthquake-related damage under the EQC legislation. So it doesn't create it with the building, but the EQC can compensate for that total cost in terms of the reduced value. But look, there's more work to be done. We are very mindful of the people in your situation, and as you say, there are others, and we are working through each and every one of those so that we can come up with a package that works for them as well. So you're not forgotten, and we know that the extent of the works that we do is not going to be able to protect each and every property, but if we can get to a resolution, everyone who's a rebuild can, of course, build to the higher level. So it's really a much smaller group of properties where the exposure comes from the fact that you're not rebuilding. And we'll find a solution. I'm confident that we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.